let's jump into the Metallica stuff now, because I have this will be stuff you'll probably want to comment more on, Joey. I had to get past all that nostalgia to the newer nostalgia.
Crazy because they didn't really tell me what to do or what songs we were going to play, so I was kind of
this is about him auditioning for
trying
Metallica.
to figure it out, trying to research the set lists and everything. And when I came on board, as far as I could tell, they hadn't been playing, their sort of classic thrash songs as much. So I was kind of learning. I was in the dark trying to figure this out, and I'd ask one guy, I'd ask James, what's the set going to look like? What do you think the set's going to look like? And then I'd ask Lars and I'd ask Kirk, and they were all different. Like the sets were were different basically. And fortunate for me, because I wasn't too familiar with the Load and Reload albums, and
grab some coffee.
I think part of the reason I got the gig was I had done a Metallica. I played on a Metallica tribute record, and Dave Lombardo was the drummer, and we played a Battery together.
Okay.
And it was pretty cool. And I knew that, so I knew that song, and that's a pretty complicated song, I think, for just somebody to go in.
Totally.
It's different than it's different than playing Sandman or something,
Right.
So I was able to play that with them, and they were impressed. But I was in Tahiti just before that, and I had called because back then you would call your voicemail, and on the voicemail were Lars and Kirk, and Lars is like, so, we want you to come down and jam with us.
Oh, my God.
Come jam with Metallica, bro. And
that is a really good impersonation, dude. That is really good. Yeah.
So
he does this a couple times in these clips, and it's so spot on.
I'm just like, what? Holy crap. It's like, it's like Thursday, and I'm getting a call to come jam with him. So I reached out. And I said, I'll be in for a birthday party. I was flying in to L.A., and then I was going to a Saturday night party for Mike Borden, a drummer of Faith No More,
right.
and a dear friend, obviously, from my years with him playing when he played drums in Ozzy's band. And I'm going to, I think it would have been his 40th at the time. And I go there, but when Lars had known I was going to be there on Saturday, he was like, "Oh, great, you can come in on Monday." And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's Thursday. I'm in Tahiti, and I'm, So that's when I auditioned, and then the other thing that was weird is he tested me. They always talk about hazing.
This is good.
Ask that. So my hazing, a couple things. My hazing, when Suicidal Tendencies toured with Metallica, we opened for them in Europe and in the States in '93 and '94. And there was a night in Madrid when I drank a bottle of Jaeger with Lars and James, and I drank 3/4 of it for sure. I was like hallucinating. Yeah. We had a flight the next day, and I always say, well, that was part of the hazing process. It happened, whatever.
That counts.
Back in 1993 or something, and then going back to my audition. We were leaving the parking lot, and Lars kind of stopped me. He goes, "Hey, you want to go get a drink? It's about 11 o'clock at night." Because basically you would go to the studio and you'd hang out from 11 a.m. till like 11 at night, and you're just a fly on the wall. It was really weird. And so then all of a sudden he's like, "Let's go get a drink." I said, "Okay." And I swear we drank until 5 a.m. And I think that was him seeing how I could handle my booze at that time, and that I didn't go crazy or try to kill anybody. And
That's important.
So I could handle it.
Well, you did come from Suicidal, so it's like,
So
and that fit of alcohol tolerance. That's true. That's something you're gonna look at in a new guy, right?
It's true, right? I mean, especially at that time, times have changed.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. So I guess I passed
The alcohol
that test.
thing.
Yeah.
And he disclaimer, he's like, times have changed since then, of course, but like at that
for sure.
time,
But thinking about that time and that culture, to be a rock star, you don't want someone flying off the handle and getting mad and beating people, and
you don't want another Dave Mustaine,
right? Send them back on a bus.
Morning, I was so hungover, and he's
This is
on
great.
a treadmill at 9 a.m. We went to bed I was stayed in his guest room, but I hear like somebody in the workout room, kind of next to the guest room, and I look, and it's him. He's on his treadmill, And then he's like, come on, bro, we got to go. I mean, it's like I was like a stranger now. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so I'm following him. I got this headache. I'm following him to the studio. And then back then they were doing these sort of therapy sessions before.
All right, with Dr. Phil?
Dr. Yeah, man. Yeah, you know.
I haven't watched Some Kind of Monster.
You haven't?
No.
Oh. It's super boring.
Yeah.
But it's something like you almost have to watch as a Metallica fan just to get through it.
I gotta watch it. Wait, right here.
True, right? I mean, especially at that time, times have changed since then. But yeah. So I guess I passed that test too. But the problem was the next morning I was so hungover, and he's on a treadmill at 9 a.m. We went to bed I was in his guest room, but I hear like somebody in the workout room, kind of next to the guest room, and I look and it's him. He's on his treadmill, and then he's like, "Come on, bro, we got to go." I mean, it's like I was like a stranger now. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so I'm following him. I got this headache. I'm following him to the studio, and then back then they were doing these sort of therapy sessions.
I went back too far.
With Dr. Phil?
Yeah, man. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, we saw him. Yeah, I mean, anyone who's seen the movie.
Yeah. So, that was going on, and I was just sitting there with this horrible
hangover
headache, and I'm like, and I was almost I'd go in the bathroom and put water on my face, and I was almost gonna say, guys, I don't feel good. I got to go home, but I said, no, you got to hang in there. And then we ended up, jamming, and that went really well for it. I just wanted to like play and not be asked questions and that whole thing, and
especially with a hangover.
Yeah. It was heavy. Yeah. So the bass tech, who's been Zach Harmon, who's been with him forever, he was actually my bass tech with when I played in Suicidal, when we were opening for Metallica in 93 and 94. Well, actually, maybe it was like 6 weeks or something. He was my tech, and I got along with him real well, and I hadn't seen him since then. So I was like, okay, I devised this plan. I'm gonna tell them that I want to get my gear situated and pick my basses I'm gonna play, and amps, and because I just they had all the gear for me, and I basically was able to get with Zach and get detour myself from this crazy situation. Just them finding out that I was still drunk or whatever. It was just so, and then I made it through all that and survived, but it was
that's fucking crazy, dude. Like
all right, I got two more.
So if you've never seen Some Kind of Monster, have you ever seen the clips of the auditions and stuff?
I don't think so. I might have seen some of them like in passing back in the day, but
that's one thing I wish they featured more on that documentary. But they showed some clips of some of the people auditioning. Like there was some chick that was kind of cool. Twiggy from Marilyn Manson at the time tried out. I can't remember if there was any more or not, but like they showed some clips and it was really fun to like, there was people all in the room and they were jamming like Metallica songs and watching how they played and stuff. And that part's definitely worth watching. But yeah, if you have never seen it, you should watch it. But it's going to make you like hate Metallica for a little bit too. Like guys,
I might already be past that phase. I do need to watch. I'm sure I can watch it on like Netflix or Amazon or something now too.
Well, it's over 20 years old now. You know?
It's probably on YouTube for free. There's a couple more Metallica related clips.
Yeah. Everything in between.
Fuck.
Yeah. But there was a lot of pressure. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised
Bob
managed it.
So they found you from like
in this clip he kind of talks about like once he got in and stuff, and
the reason that you were auditioning, they just from when you guys toured with them with Suicidal, or
well, that's a good question. They remembered me from the Suicidal.
This is this is how he talks about. So he talks about how he got into Metallica.
Also, Kirk. We had a mutual friend who surfed, and
spoiler alert, it involves surfing.
Coming down to LA in an RV with this mutual friend and a couple other buddies, and they wanted to surf in LA County, and they knew I knew the spots, so I took them to Manhattan Beach. We surfed there, and I took him to
Porto or
Ventura. Yeah, El Porto, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
We surfed El Porto. We surfed Zuma. We surfed up at County Line in Ventura and all that.
Oh, rad.
So we kind of had a week together, and he and I just really hit it off. We didn't talk a whole lot about
Zuma's real
their
close to me. I
situation.
almost died
I was
there.
playing in Ozzy's band, and eventually they were going to have to look for bass players, of course. And that's how Lars and Kirk ended up kind of giving me a buzz. So I was kind of Kirk's guy. Everybody kind of brought in their guy, and then they had,
Well, fucking took it out with all the other guys.
What were you gonna say, Noodles?
Bob just told us this story the other day that he was there for that
I
whole process.
assume that I'm pretty sure they're talking about Bob Rock.
Bob Rock.
He's in the some kind of monster movie, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Spoiler alert, he thought he was in the band.
Yeah, listen to this. I didn't know that. Listen to this.
They were trying out people, and wow, this guy's really good. This guy's really good. This guy's really good. But no one was going, that's the guy until you came in. And he said, when you came in, they all go, that's the guy. And Bob goes, that is your guy.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
your
Bob.
guy.
He was great in that. He was supportive, and he was excited to work with me. So it was cool. But he had already tracked the bass on the album, so when I came in, the bass tracks were done. And I remember this uncomfortable moment where Lars and James were going to go get some lunch or something, and they basically said, we're in the control room, and Bob's there, sitting sort of behind on the couch, and the assistant engineer is there, and he goes, Lars says, I'm like, we'd like you to take a shot at tracking some bass on this song. Sane anger. Take a crack at it. See what you can do. We'll be back. Take your time. And I was like, oh shit, they want me to track. And so I pick a bass, and I'm sitting there with the assistant engineer. I look back at Bob, and I'm like, okay, and he didn't look happy. So
He didn't look happy.
Start
because he thought he was in the band.
And I don't know what I played. Whatever I played, something. And then I look back at him because he's the producer, and I said, "So, how's that?" And he said, "I don't know. I already tracked all the bass." He was like, kind of like what he was really saying was, "I don't know why they're making you do this, because the album is we've already tracked the bass on this album. You don't need to be doing this.
They're fucking with you."
No wonder Bob.
That was part of the hazing.
No wonder Bob wasn't stoked about it.
Yeah. So
because his tracks were already on it. So I got one more clip.
I don't know much about Bob Rock, but just watching him in that DVD, he would not have been a good fit for the band.
Yeah. I mean, tracking the bass, fine, but on a tour,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
On tour, live, no. Doesn't fit the mold.
Totally. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you listen to this guy talk, he was the best natural fit for the band. And I realized too, all these guys surf. That's another thing. There's a very common thread. All these guys know each other from surfing, which is interesting.
I think I knew that about Kirk.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that anyone else did, but
all the Venice guys, the guys from Jane's, Stephen Perkins and Perry, they're surfers. The guys from Offspring are surfers.
Sure.
Trujillo actually tells the story, and if you are interested in this, you should go watch the whole thing because the whole thing is good. But he tells this story at one point that I didn't clip about. He was way into snowboarding because he didn't really surf or skate, and then he was snowboarding with this Japanese guy who's really good, and he's like, "Why are you doing this? You're a bass player." And he's like, at that point, he's like, "Oh, this guy's right. What am I doing? I'm gonna break my wrist or something."
Right.
It's like, you are not a snowboarder. You're a bass player.
The good thing about snowboarding is there's no sharks.
Yeah, there's other dangers, though. Just ask Sonny Bono.
Oh, I'm sure it's much more dangerous.
Falling off a mountainside or crashing into a tree at high speed. So this is the last clip I have, and it's pretty long, but we'll just watch it.
Process or whatever. If I need to help write something, I'm there. If I need to help kind of work with one of the band members, and partner up and get them through, I try to be there. And that's the thing about being in a band, as you guys know, because you've had, enough members to know that patience is important, and personalities is everything. How do you balance the personalities of all these wild characters? I mean,
So the reason I clipped this, I just remembered, is because he tells a story about when he had to fight with Metallica as the new guy. So
musicians are characters, right? I mean, I was working with Ozzy when he was out of his mind. Zach Wilde was out of his mind. You know, Rocky George is suicidal. Like those guys were. I mean, I always have said I've been blessed with the madness of these people at the maximum, you know, point in their careers. So I had to learn that way, and then I was able to bring some of that into, you know, my position. Obviously, with Metallica now, it's been almost 21 years. So
that's wild.
21 years, man. Time flies.
So, you know, I always tell young musicians, man, you know,
there you go, Joey.
Do they still treat you like the new guy?
No,
21 years. You're still the new guy.
We've had our moments, man. Where I've had it. I mean, it's kind of funny. Where I've had to like stand up for myself, and you know, they accuse me of playing something wrong because they rarely can do that to me, and I actually said I was pissed, man, and I was like, it's this breakdown in Turn the Page where it's just the bass and the vocal, and what happened was Lars is gonna probably kill me for saying this, but anyway, I was doing the pulse. I was trying to do it where I mute the strings and I use my thumb. And I was experimenting with this, and my timing was a little off. I kind of messed it up, and we were getting ready to do a live, to play this song live with. We were going to do Howard Stern, and so you're
gonna do it live in a studio like this.
He called me out on it, and I knew because I screwed it up, and you know I've never screwed that part up. So he was like, no, you're not playing it. I mean, are you playing it right? What are you playing? And I was like, I screwed up. That, you know, my bad. You know, no, but seriously, I mean, what are you gonna play? You know, I said, Lars, I screwed up. You know, like that. And then I got mad, and I said, put on, you know, because there's a guy that, you know, has everything every show we've ever done. Put on any fucking show right now, and you will not hear a fuck up on that song. I got there, you know, and it turned into this whole thing. And they kind of laughed and smiled, but I was pissed, man. I was like, and it was and again, that was a kind of a recent thing, and it takes a lot to get there, you know, in any situation where you kind of got to stand up for yourself or put your foot down, you know, but I get it. And it was actually good for me because then I went home and I practiced it like 30 times. Lars isn't that crazy.
I dare you to find me, find a flaw in it now, asshole.
I was like, because it's true. I mean, look, I'll be honest. Yeah, it's true. You weren't going to find a fuck up, you know, from the past 20 years, but you know, hey, tomorrow's a new day, and and I could have probably, there's a good chance, you know, maybe I would have messed it up. So I was like, I'm not gonna let that happen.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting too. Trujillo seems like he was talking about the personalities in bands. He seems like the most level-headed guy, and like a good counterweight to a personality like Lars or Ozzy, you know, like I'm sure that he rounds out those bands personality-wise.
I think Kirk is pretty level-headed too, but he's also he doesn't seem as aggressive as he should be. He seems
reclusive.
Yeah. Kind
of like mild-mannered and like a little shy,
peacekeeper kind of guy, and whereas I think, like, if you watch some kind of monster too, Lars and James are just, you know.
And by the way, we should mention condolences to Lars, who just lost his father, which is terrible.
Yeah, when I sent that to you last night, like Lars just posted that like 18 minutes prior. It was like, it wasn't in the news yet or nothing. It was just Instagram on Lars' page. And I don't know, it just kind of hit me. Like, not that I knew his dad or followed his tennis career or anything like that, but I just knew Lars and him were real tight. And it was just like, man, it sucks when you lose a parent, you know? So
yeah, sometimes you lose them while they're still alive.
yeah.
But no, yeah.
95. I mean, that's a good life, you know?
Yeah. I just thought, like, I love interviews like that because it was so unexpected. It was one of those things the YouTube algorithm fed me, and I was like, oh, what's this? Offspring have a podcast? Oh. And I started watching. I was just like, wow, like some of the stories that Trujillo has are amazing. Yeah. So you should go listen to the whole thing. He tells a story in it that I didn't clip about Zakk Wylde and Ozzy like fucking with him on stage, and how he came up with the crawl thing he does, the crab walk.
Oh, really?
That he does.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more Ozzy stories and stuff. But.
Yeah, there's a couple really great ones on there, but I would have had like 3 hours of clips if I, the whole thing's like 2 hours, I think. But, I just tried to get like some of the higher points. But yeah, if that's interesting to you, like go watch the whole thing because the whole thing.
I like hearing like podcasts done by other musicians and stuff because it like they got some of the inside knowledge or, stories from the road or whatever. And it's kind of fun.